Markus. Thank you, Markus. Welcome, everybody. We're very pleased to be having our fourth or fifth, I can't remember now, I think it's the fourth webinar in our series of commercial excellence topics. Today's webinar is about leveraging GenAI and essentially using it to transform business outcomes and strategies. I'm very, very pleased to invite and to have Markus Kuiper with us here as the lead presenter. We will be having a conversation as this goes on, and of course, all of you attending are more than welcome to put your comments and questions in the chat as we go along. So this is going to be about 30 minutes or so of a presentation, followed by Q&A, hopefully. So 35 minutes of a presentation chat kind of between Markus and myself. We have some slides, not a lot, but we'll do that. So let's get started. My name is Vimal. I'm one of the co-founding partners of Commercial Excellence Partners. We are a business strategy organization based out of Singapore, but we operate globally. We have been around for about 1.5 years, and I'll tell you a bit more about CEP. But before I do that, I'd love to invite Markus Kuiper to introduce himself. Markus, over to you.
Thank you so much, Vimal. Thanks for having me today. I'm also a partner at the Commercial Excellence Partners. I'm a professor for B2B marketing at the National University of Singapore. But most importantly, I'm coming from your side of the business, everyone. I have been in organizations like Mercedes-Benz, Rolls-Royce Marine, Airbus, and then in a couple of startups. I always spent my time in commercial excellence roles from business development, strategy, marketing, communications, sales, and supply chain management. And I covered a couple of countries in the world, from Europe to Australia, Asia, and North America. So I'm very happy to be here with you today, Vimal.
Thank you, Markus. And you do have, you're all over LinkedIn. I've seen you with a number of videos, and you do a lot of content around AI, so I'm pretty excited to get into this with you. Thanks very much for joining us. You may know about Commercial Excellence Partners. I'll just spend a quick minute just to tell you about what we do. We are an organization, as I said, incorporated out of Singapore, but we operate globally. And for us, commercial excellence is about these things that you see on the screen. So it's about strategy, it's about innovation, it's about digital, sales and marketing, and so on. It's basically anything that impacts the top line and bottom line of your organization. And at the bottom, you can see the photographs of our partners who have joined us on this venture and who help to deliver elements of commercial excellence into all of your businesses. Now, commercial excellence should be thought about as an integrated business strategy. So what we do at CEP is we work with large enterprises and leaders, such as yourselves on this call, to augment and amplify commercial performance. And we do this by focusing on real customer value. So we work from the customer backwards, right? Customer centricity is the core of our strategy across all of these domains. So we look at all of these domains and we bring it together in a holistic, optimized manner for you, for your business. These are some of the clients that we've worked with, some of our partners. And in essence, over the last 1.5 years, we've worked on 78, probably a couple of more projects now. We need to update the number. 78 projects across 8 countries and 8 distinct industries. And we're very happy if you want to get in touch with us to talk about any potential for you in your business. So before we get into GenAI, today's topic, again, I'm just going to spend 3 minutes or 4 minutes talking about the previous webinar that we had, which is just to bring to focus some things that we do in CEP and specifically in the realm of sales. Now, in the previous webinar, we talked about unlocking value. So how do we shift the sales dialogue from price to performance or price to value? And, we started off by talking about, we started off by showing a Korn Ferry survey where essentially commercial folks said that, these were the top 5 problems that they were struggling with, which is talent issues, the inability to generate qualified leads, and basically the inability to differentiate with the competition. And these are all symptoms of what are essentially becoming hyper-competitive markets, no matter which industry you're in or which country you operate from. These are all symptoms of hyper-competition. So when you are in these situations, it's very difficult for you to increase margins and to increase pricing. And so we thought that maybe one perspective to share would be to say, let's stop thinking in old world terms where, in the old world, you sign a contract and then you deliver the value. And that's what customers expected. But in the new world, sometimes even, well, not sometimes, but most of the time, as soon as you are able to engage with a prospect or a lead, you are actually expected to now provide some level of value, right? So sales is not something that is conversion. Sales is something that is more akin to advisory and helping your potential clients get through, right? And obviously, then that becomes your differentiator. So your products become table stakes now. Products are no longer something that you can differentiate. I mean, you could potentially with some elements of your product, but really, you've got to tie these three domains together: your products, which is table stakes, sales, and then of course customers, right? So you can't rely on product growth anymore. You've got to actually now differentiate based on your sales processes, your people, and how well you align all of these things with your customers and the values that they expect to get from your business. Um, Now, what does empowering the customer really look like in the sales process? And that's where the secret is. It's about uncovering and delivering value that sometimes even the customer doesn't expect. So helping them define risks, helping them define requirements or refine the requirements that they think they have, and really helping them to optimize investments and expectations of returns. And last but not least, we thought, okay, if you truly want to be differentiated from the competition, then you need to involve yourself with your prospects and your leads right from the top of the funnel, right? That's where the best of the best in sales and in commercial performance, that's where they're getting involved. Because we believe in business, if you are only getting invited at the process of the RFP, you've probably lost the business. So the best salespeople or the best marketing people are the ones who initiate the highest margin, and these are the people who initiate the highest margin deals. They are involved from right at the top of the funnel. So that was what we talked about in the previous webinar. I just wanted to give you a quick summary of what we discussed, some of the questions that we dealt with, and the insights that we came away with. And that leads me to today. So leveraging GenAI for commercial excellence. I would love to now hand over to Markus to talk about the topic today. Markus, over to you, my friend.
Thank you, Vimal. Okay, let's go into the topic. First of all, I heard from one of you at the beginning, like, I have been following AI and Gen AI for a while. I can see positives and negatives. Let's start with the evangelists' statements, maybe. Satya Nadella says AI will be the defining technology of our time, and they back it up with investment. We all see the investment they are putting into OpenAI and other solutions. Andrew Ng says the true power of AI lies in its ability to augment human intelligence. And I will talk about that a little bit later. And maybe you will ask the question, will Gen AI and AI actually be able to replicate our feelings, our emotions, and our senses? And no other than Elon says, I have never seen a faster technology emerging than Gen AI. And yes, of course, we know why these gentlemen are saying that, because they have high stakes in this as well. So it's partly influencing, but it's partly really based on facts. Okay. I would like to ask you to participate in the following Mentimeter, because we would really like to customize this session rather than me or Vimal giving a speech. So please scan the QR code and start answering the first question. Are you currently using GenAI? Secondly, how often do you use it? And thirdly, are you excited by GenAI for business and or private use? Very simple questions. Feel free to do this right now, and then we look at the results. So we can see So far, 14 people all say yes. Maybe we go
Everyone's
to the
excited.
next.
Everyone's using it.
Yeah, 15 yes. Okay, great. So we don't have to start from scratch. That's great. Then we go to the next slide. How often do you use GenAI? Daily, weekly, sometimes, not often. Very interesting. Vimal, how often do you use GenAI?
I'm in the daily camp, Marcus.
Me too. I wouldn't say hourly, but definitely daily. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's one of those things which, but to be fair, Marcus, I had to build it up, right? It wasn't something that came to me naturally. It was something that
Yes.
I went to as a solution in the beginning. So like whenever I needed something, I would go to
Yeah.
it. But now I've come to a point where if I don't use it, I feel like, oh my God, I think I should have used it for this. I could have used it for this. So it kind of, it's becoming almost like a muscle.
Yeah, and Christian says same here as well. Thanks, Christian. Yeah. All right. So pretty clear picture, Vimal, right? We're daily
Yeah.
50%, weekly 38%, 13 sometimes, which means 100% use it quite regularly. Great. Let's go to the last question then. Are you excited by GenAI for business, private use, unsure, or not at all? This means, are you positive? Are you divided? And you can, by the way, it's multiple. You can choose both business and private if you like.
So I don't know about you, Marcus, but I'm keen to understand from those people who are unsure, right?
Mm,
You know what that for me is we purposely put that in as one of the choices, right? Because that's the sweet spot that we want to deal with today.
shall we ask the couple of people who said unsure? Would you like to share with us? So what makes you unsure? It's very interesting for everyone to learn that. All right, again, Vimal, I guess we see business 50%, 42% use it for private, and no one says that they are not excited about it.
Yeah. So it's a bit like preaching to the choir here, right?
It
Or
is. So
singing from the same hymn sheet.
we better up our game, right? So, okay, let's move on then. Okay, let's go back to the
Okay, so
presentation then.
I'm gonna go back. I'm just gonna go
Thank
back
you so
to
much. And I
yeah.
look at the chat and I can see Leah says unsure about the private use. Yeah. And this might have to do with what is actually getting recorded and stored and whatnot. Okay, so as simple as it can be, just the difference between AI and Gen AI. So AI, we are probably very familiar with in the meantime, because this has been around for decades and has become very popular over the last 10 years, probably. It really encompasses a broad range of technologies that enable machines to perceive, learn, and make decisions like humans. You can look at AI almost like an onion, and if you peel it down, you will go to deep learning, you will go to machine learning, and things like that. And Gen AI is part of this family of AI. But what exactly is it? Gen AI models can create new, and the word is new original content such as text, images, audio, including songs, based on patterns in data. Gen AI nowadays has access to over 1 trillion data points or parameters. And it is said that ChatGPT, as it is, a GTP as it is today in version 4.0, by version 5.0 will probably answer 99% of any question a human being may ask. Don't ask me exactly when it will come, but we will talk about that in a moment. The key difference between AI and Gen AI is that AI broadly refers to the field. Gen AI specifically focuses on the ability to generate novel human-like outputs, not only human, but novel-like. And by the way, you can write a novel or a book or an article or a blog post easily within a few seconds and minutes. Okay?
Yeah, Marcus, you reminded me of something. So I recall reading this last month, and we should think of Gen AI's outputs as a language, right? Because if you think about it, what is a language? Numbers are a language, pictures are a language. They say pictures paint 1,000 words, and then obviously you've got actual language like words, right? And so when you think about the output of Gen AI as a language, and suddenly your mind starts to open up with all the possibilities and opportunities, right? So let's just keep that in mind.
Absolutely. So what is the future? Vimal and myself, we obviously prepared for this session, and we came up with a AAA, not a battery, but AAA solution. First of all, autopilot. AI basically takes over the entire end-to-end production of reports, of analysis, non-customer facing work, production optimization, cost reduction, athlete performance predictability, and things like that. A lot of people are still asking, yeah, but do I have to clean up the data and whatever? In the meantime, there are tools which can also work with unstructured and very messy data as well. The second part is assistant. So you have solutions like Microsoft Copilot, and they very, very decisively said we call it Copilot and not autopilot, because we don't want it to do everything for you as a user. We want to be your assistant. It really comes into the area where augmenting current strength and supplementing what's unavailable is your main topic. And we can see, maybe some of you can just say yes or no to my question now. Are you using Microsoft Copilot or Coliner or something in your daily work already? Are you connected to an AI tool? Matt says yes. Thank you, Matt. I can imagine that. Matthias, thanks a lot. You see the yes of yes, 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 which means, Vimal, if we had run this 6 months ago, we would have had to explain what Copilot is. And now we get almost 100%. Yeah, 100% yes. What do you think?
So using it for non-customer facing is quite obvious, but using it as an assistant is something I think most of us still, at least speaking for myself, we still struggle with that a little bit.
Well, and the last one, obviously, is analysis, which probably many of us are using. And if you're watching it, we will talk a little bit about that as well. Define actionable insights and patterns driving database decisions. We have a second question for you, or Menti Paul. Please help us to make this a little bit more engaging. Please scan the code, and then we will have a look at the questions.
Markus, can I ask you a live question?
You can ask anytime, absolutely, please. I love it.
Yes, great engagement as well, I think. So my question is, when you ask the Menti here, is it to us or in general terms, how we see the population at large, business and private?
No, really, no personal, please, because then you can comment on it as well. So do you know where to start? I'm not clear on the.
Yeah, I tell you why it's a fantastic question, because if you remember at the beginning of this, we asked everybody, do you use it? Yes, everybody uses it. And yet, look at the largest answer here. I'm unsure about the business risks to using Gen AI, right? And we also have, at least 5 people who are not sure where to start, or, not clear on the ROI. So clearly, although we know there is some value, we're not very clear how that value translates into business value, or how that value translates into personal value, right? Markus?
Yeah. I love the diversity of our bell curve here in our results. So we have 3 people who say, I don't know where to start. Vimal, this is something we hear every day and every week when we talk to clients and potential clients, or when I run my seminars in executive education with my education partners. Yeah, Gabriel, you are saying others. Share with us. I know you have an opinion. You are not just other.
Yeah, everybody has opinions. Here, and I missed to tag the QR code. My perspective is so far from what I have used, I literally found GenAI like very average. You ask them to rewrite, it's very generic, it's very tasteless. It's a very McDonald's style. It's what McDonald's is to gastronomy. It's something that serves the purpose. You can feed someone, you don't get better, you don't get fitter, and it's not very like nice to appreciate. And probably for like very hardcore science, like scientists in laboratories making like very complex simulations, I mean, vaccine testing, etc., it might help the purpose. In business, so far, I have never, ever seen to the point Gen AI when it comes to data analytics. They will always miss the granularity of our ground reality. They will always use like very generic terminology or the fluffy corporate terminology, but you literally miss the flavor for what Gen AI produce. But my but is I really feel like this will change over time, but so far today, it is not yet serving the purpose. That's my perspective. So I don't find it as good as what people say.
And this is exactly the purpose of our session today. Both Vimal and I are not evangelists. We are not trying to convince everyone that it's the best. This is a forum where we can actually share that. I would agree with you and Christian as well. Christian calls it the average of average. But I will ask everyone in a moment a question how fast Gen AI is actually 10xing. And some of you may guess the answer and some of you may be surprised. I give you an example, Gabrielle, because I know that you are quite a little bit into images and painting. 6 months ago, if you ask ChatGPT DALL-E to create an image of a boy sitting on a bench in front of a school looking bored, and we just used that, it came out like a PDF. It sounded like a graphic art which someone has been doing around, and the background was very, very pixelated and so on. We ran the same approximately 2 months ago, and the difference was night and day. The same image, the same prompt into a ChatGPT produced an image which could have come from a digital camera. So it has been improving a lot. Vimal, how have you been watching these steps?
Yeah, I think it really depends on how and where you use it. I mean, images, clearly that's the most obvious and visible form of improvement because you can tell the quality of an image, right? But I think to Gabrielle's point about, and to Christian's point about average of average, I noticed I was one of the early adopters of Gen AI, and I remember in the beginning it was like, that's it, nothing fantastic here. But I remember over the months, having used it more and more, I realized that it's getting far more granular at giving you the answer. So it's not a question though.
Yeah. What is this picture here? So Vimal, you're showing is this your private gym in Dubai, or what is your point here actually?
Yeah, of course. This is one of the small rooms I have in my villa in Jumeirah by the beach, Marcus. Yeah, sure. No, so when people ask me to kind of explain, or when my 15-year-old talks to me about Gen AI, I like this metaphor of a gym, right? And I use and just stay with me for a minute. So some or all of us potentially have thought of or have gone to a gym, right? We sign up and we all know what happens. But think of Gen AI like a mental gymnasium, right? So imagine that it's good for you, and you're going to go to the gym. It's the best equipped gym in the land. There's hundreds, 100 pieces of equipment and all of that. And all of that is fine. But there's a couple of things you realize very, very quickly, right? Number one, going one day is not going to help in the long run. Number two, you need to know what you want to do at the gym. And number three, what you do at the gym has to be driven by your objective. If you don't have all three ingredients, so if you don't have an objective, if you don't know what you want to do, and if you don't do it diligently, then this beautiful gym is actually a white elephant. It's actually useless, right? So just like when you go to a gym, your objective is, do I want to gain muscle? Do I want to lose weight? Do I want to become fitter? Do I want to become faster? you use that to start driving your, how much time you spend in the gym, what are the activities that you do in the gym, and so on and so forth. So I would say GenAI is very, very similar. And I would say that, if probably the first step all of us should take, particularly for those of us who are not convinced about the ROI, I think the first step is to change mindsets, right? And the mindset that needs to be changed, I would classify it in 3 areas. So the first one is, we all tend to think of GenAI as a technology tool, a tool, right? Like a hammer. But the fact is that it will really help to think about it as a strategic assistant. That intern, or the or the manager that you always wished you had, but you never had, right? Somebody who is multi-talented, somebody who can, do whatever they want you, whatever you tell them to do, to a large extent, and do it to some level of good possibility and good results, right? So that's the first one. The second one would be to think of it as augmentation, right? So it's not a replacement, but it's really augmentation. And what I mean by augmentation is that, you know your job, right? You know what you need to do, you're good enough, and all of that is fine. But you're always, there's always this desire to do more, to be faster, to be better, to do things more efficiently.
6 months, 1 year, absolutely. I'm glad that you are ignoring my misleading question. It is actually 6 months. That is what Elon Musk just said maybe 4 weeks ago. That, and I think Sam Altman as well. 6 months is how GenAI 10x is at the moment. So to the comments we heard earlier from Gabrielle and others, and what I hear really every week in my seminars about this topic is, do we have time? Can we first watch Vimal? And if you decide to watch, you are already late. And Christian says this in his chat as well. If you don't apply and adopt it right now, you will be extinct very soon. Vimal, do you hear similar questions or concerns about procrastination?
Actually, yes. And I don't, nobody tells you that they're procrastinating, right? So I have 2 pieces of data, right? And the first piece of data is that, which I read about 3 weeks ago, less than 2% of the world has actually ever used GenAI, 2%. So if you're using it, you're already in the top, in the 98th percentile, right? But it gets even more amazing than that, right? Less than 0.04% of the world uses it every day. So if you're using GenAI every day, I think, Markus, you and I are, we are in the top 0.04%, right? So if there's anybody else on this webinar who's using it every day, 0.04%. That's how, that's how little it's being used today in general, right? And we are counting even all the developers and all the AI technicians and all of that. But the other thing that I read was something that Sam Altman said, and I read this yesterday. He said that he was actually embarrassed by GenAI. Did anybody else read this? He actually called GPT-4 an embarrassment. He said he's embarrassed by what he's released because he says he's seen 5, and he says it's gonna be a wholesale change and a wholesale improvement. And what it's doing right now, it's an embarrassment. So you're paying $20 a month for an embarrassment, basically.
Well, I allow me to slightly disagree, because the efficiency and productivity we are getting out of current solutions, and we should not only talk about ChatGPT, but Gemini, Copilot, and others, because we don't want to endorse one particular product, right, Vimal? It really depends on how you use it and how smart you are in your prompts.
Yeah.
And GenAI will learn about us. It will also learn about our sentiments, and it is about our feelings and the lingo we are using. I have the pleasure to be in a forum of the leading marketing people dealing with GenAI, where we very openly discuss the pros and cons. And by the way, to the question about IP and ethics and compliance, yes, we are in the Wild West right now. Only Europe has come up with a GDPR-like regulation for Europe, which is very strong, very good. That's what Europe is very good at. But at the same time, you look at a country like Germany, who are absolutely lacking behind in the application and understanding of GenAI in the industry. So it always has a good and bad. But what I was about to say is that it absolutely helps to increase your productivity and performance. And when it comes to decision making, which is one question we heard from you and our clients in the past, who can actually help me and decide? We have a very interesting democratization of technology happening. In the past, maybe 10 years ago, maybe more, in some organizations still today, IT was the gatekeeper for anything entering a larger organization, and definitely medium to large organizations. Then it became the domain experts, and marketing could start to select MarTech tools and so on. Then it became the power users who are not using any code. And we are now entering the phase where marketers or procurement or HR or finance or supply chain or production people can use GenAI based on what they researched with GenAI, probably. I ran exactly this slide in a workshop with one of the largest camera manufacturers and sellers in the world. 50% of us have this. Some of you might ask for really concrete use cases. So when it comes to AI and now also Gen AI, but let's start with AI, the 4 industries in the world are really leading in manufacturing, for example, using IoT, AR, VR, AI and Gen AI. Usually it's the aero and defense industry, it's the automotive industry, it's the electronics industry and food and beverages. But nowadays, pharma is catching up very fast as well, and many, many other industries. In terms of functions, marketing and sales are probably leading. Why? Because number one, they are usually jumping on new developments faster than the rest. And secondly, there are more solutions available. What you can get actually, what we see in marketing agencies nowadays is that unfortunately, there's a trend of maybe replacing 50% of their staff with generative AI solutions. And why is that? Because the pitching cost for an agency to a large organization usually is around $300,000 for pitch without knowing whether they win it. With Gen AI, they can reduce this cost to $30,000. So Vimal, if you were a CFO, would you like this number?
Especially if it's relatively high cost, repetitive work. I mean, and if that can be done by, almost on autopilot, right? Then why would you need to incur this cost? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, Umang, for the comment on governance and ethics. There are softwares coming, and of course they use Gen AI in the future as well. So marketing, sales, HR are in the lead of using Gen AI. And how do they use it? Well, HR is learning from sports, for example, where AI and Gen AI has been used a lot in order to predict the performance of the people. Because we can assess this webinar now, it could be a project meeting, Vimal, and it could predict whether my ability to persuade people with my body language and my lingo is actually working, or whether I'm at 30% and I should go to a seminar, something like that as well. Shall we move on?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Markus. Very insightful and very useful. I want to share something from the sales world.
Yeah.
That's a world that I come from quite, big portion of my career was in management, and obviously everyone in management is generally in sales as well. And I wanted to share some examples of how AI has been used by some of my clients that I've been talking to, some of the people I've been advising. So the very first one, the very obvious one, is lead generation. And there have been lead gen agencies sprouting up for the last 5 years everywhere, right? And they all have a similar modus operandi. But if you look at AI doing it, right? I've got agencies that have now built automation around, using AI where they have existing, they scrape for emails, they put them in spreadsheets. The AI runs automatic qualification based on specified variables, and it comes out with a yes/no list at the end, which yes/no based on all the variables that you've given to say that yes, we should follow up, no, we shouldn't follow up. And at its core, this is machine learning, but it's also Gen AI, because at the end of it, it also generates quite a bit of information as to how you should approach. Now, the how you should approach then goes into, for example, email automation, right? So it also does market research, by the way, which is something that all salespeople do. So it gets into market research. It automates the gathering and analysis of publicly available data. It helps your sales team understand what's happening with this target or with this prospect. What are some of the customer preferences? What's happening in the world today around this particular issue or this particular problem, and then you use that to now set up meetings. AI can actually direct your sales teams to have certain discussions using certain language, focusing on certain use cases, and then of course right at the end, it can help you actually draft the proposal once you've actually listened to done a discovery call or done a few calls and all of that. So that's my set of examples, actual use cases with actual returns, and in the sales world. Markus?
And if you have questions about returns and for example in productivity or whatever, we do have numbers, and we can share that with you. They are publicly available numbers, so there's no secret. And here's a little a bonus for all the ones who have been sticking with us until the end. I did a current research on the most mentioned Gen AI solutions for marketing and sales. A couple of them you can see are specifically for marketing, and some of them are marketing and sales, like for example, advanced customer insights and segmentation. As a disclaimer, we are not endorsing any of these products or brands, and we are not connected to any of them. And a second disclaimer is, this is valid as of what is it today? The 9th of May, 2024. So if you watch this video in 1 month time, this list might be fairly outdated already, because we are in a 10x 6-month time frame right now. Yes, and as Dora says, we will share that with you afterwards. And we also have solutions for HR, procurement, supply chain, and other areas, and finance, for example, and legal as well. So we won't go through all of that, but content discovery and curation, we have some solutions, okay? We have something for SEO and content strategy, content creation and optimization, and personalization and customer engagement, email outreach optimization, and predictive analytics and data insights. And look, the predictive analytics and data insights, the list could be very, very long in its own right. So Vimal, we only planned this for our participants and the ones who will watch this later as a little bonus and to get started, because, and that is maybe my final comment, it's not the question if you will be in Gen AI and AI. Nowadays, the question is when you will be. And my prediction is, if the year you put here is not 2024, you are already risking the future of some of your business.
Yeah, and Markus, so first of all, these are not just marketing tools or sales tools, right? I mean, a lot of this is in use by different parts of the organization.
One question we get a lot is where to start. And the answer we and my colleagues always give is, you don't have to play around with every large language model. Just stick to one and go with the flow as they improve almost on a weekly basis. So we are not endorsing one particular one, but stick with one and go deeper and deeper. And it will be very easy to go to AWS or Microsoft or ChatGPT or Gemini later as well. They only get better and better, and they get more personal. And another thing you will learn in the future is they will start to learn about you as a user, and they will start behaving like you as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of I mean, Christoph said it earlier, there's a lot of videos, a lot of tools, there's a lot of how-tos and tactics and tricks and tips and all of that, to train the AI to talk in your voice, to generate in your voice, and you can even clone your videos and clone yourself in videos and all of that. I mean, our objective today on this webinar wasn't so much to give you tips and tricks, but it's more about the mindset, number one. Number two, it's about getting started. And number three, it's about having this community of us. There's about 30 of us on this call, to connect with each other and to sort of keep this conversation going around GenAI for business use.
So this is it. We are focusing on commercial excellence. We are not talking about other areas. If you need a little bit more of a conversation, feel free to reach out to us. We are open for you. And we basically work across many, many industries every week, Vimal. So we can see what is going on, not only in Singapore and Southeast Asia, but across the world.
Yep. Great. So thank you very much, Markus. Thank you for all your insights, and thanks everybody for all the engagement.
We have a question by Leah. Can you comment on copyrights IP when using GenAI that I mostly find horrendous as not giving correct sources?
Yes, Leah. I think there's a very famous example where a lawyer in a court in America quoted a law which actually didn't exist at all. And they used ChatGPT in order to cut time and prepare for the court case. As a professor, I share with my students the following. I invite you and encourage you to use ChatGPT, but you always have to check the sources, and you cannot quote something you have not read personally in that source. So in business, very often we are not working in an academic way where we have an hypothesis and then have to prove it. But I encourage everyone, for the time being, we are still in a bit of a Wild West. Be careful, and when you quote something, make sure that it's actually the right quote from the right person or the right source.
Yeah, and I think the whole question about IP is precisely where people are scared about the black box type of, so as a rule of thumb, you should definitely never ever put any intellectual property or company confidential data and data sets into things like, Gemini or ChatGPT and all of that. I mean, that's where you've got to be a bit careful, but definitely, the immediate use cases for AI, Gen AI in commercial tends to be around publicly available data, doing research, generating content, trying to engage, finding people. That's where the typical value seems to reside right now. And none of that requires IP.
Well, thank you so much, Vimal, for having me today. I'm very sure that we will talk about this topic in a couple of months' time again. And then maybe we do what you did today. We look back at the content we talked about today, and then we have a 10x conversation.
That's a good one.
Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, everybody.
It was excellent.
Thank you, Christian. Good to see you again and hear you. Thanks. 10x. That's it.
This one again.